Now that we have completed the protagonist profile for our mini short story, it's time for us to shift our focus to our antagonist. Now, one of the most important things I want to remind you of when it comes to the antagonist in a story is the antagonist is not necessarily a bad guy or a bad girl, right? They're really just the person who stands in the way of the main character being able to solve the problem. So, another way to think about this is that they complicate the conflict for the character, right? They make it harder for them to solve or overcome the challenge that they are facing each day. So we're going to start by also creating a profile of the antagonist to help us understand who that character is and how their character might then later intersect with our protagonist's character. So previously, I decided that this was a story between two young women. That was just my personal preference on my scenario here. And again, I'm working with this idea that I have two best friends. One's been kind of shy and quiet, one's a little bit more popular and outgoing, and they both want to audition for the same part in the play, which is obviously going to create some friction. So now my next step is just like I started with my protagonist, I'm going to give my antagonist a full name. So I'm going to think about what's her first and last name or her first name, middle, and last name. And I think I'm going to go with Emma. Let's see, Emma, what would be a good middle name? Emma Aurelia Rothschild. I don't know. That's just what came to me. You can do any name you want. It's up to you. Use your imagination. And now, based on my character profile, I'm going to describe my antagonist. So I'm going to go back to my profile. Um, Best friend is popular, well liked, super talented. Um, these two characters have been friends since they were little, so I feel like she's pretty loyal as well. Um, and she's sort of maybe she likes to be the center of attention. She's popular, she's well liked, she's talented. She always wants to be the best at things. So I'm going to make a little bulleted list here. And you can do that by clicking these three dots and coming here to the bullet. And I'm going to say, so she's popular, meaning that she is well liked and gets along with others. Oops, can't spell today. Um, she is really talented, so she has many talents in many different areas. And that makes me feel like because she's really talented, this means that she is used to being among the best or the best and or winning things, which I think is going to be important because when you think about the conflict between the two characters, if you have the one character who's dominant like Emma and you have the other character who's a little bit more shy like Isadora, that's going to create some different types of friction. So maybe Emma is used to winning. She's used to being popular. She's used to coming out. And she's also, if we look at this description, when we think about Isadora, she's always been kind of okay with being in the background. She's been okay with being overlooked. But now she has this one thing that she wants, and that's the thing that Emma also wants. So that's going to create some friction. So I'm going to say here as well, she is used to Isadora, which is the name I gave my protagonist, taking a back seat or being in the background. But she is also loyal because she has maintained this friendship for so long. Right? Okay, so I've got my description of kind of her personality. I kind of know who she is, what she's thinking or feeling. And now I'm going to go to my next question. So, does your antagonist have friends? Well, Isadora is her best friend. Um, let's see. Isadora's her best friend. Um, she is also friends with Joyce and Terrence, right? So maybe those are her two friends outside of her friendship with Isadora. Maybe she goes to them for advice. How might those friends support the antagonist as they try to make the protagonist's life harder? Well, remember that the antagonist is not necessarily a mean reason for them to make their life harder, right? It is, they have two competing goals. So, Emma, it's not that she wants Isadora to lose, it's just that she also wants the same thing. So um when we think about this idea of what she wants and how they might make the protagonist's life harder, we could say these friends support Emma and encourage her to always do what she wants, to go for the gold. And this seems important because when we're thinking about how her other friends outside of Isadora might influence her, just because you're supporting your friend doesn't always mean that it's necessarily the best choice for that situation, right? So they're encouraging her, they're supporting her, they want her to accomplish something, and yet that might ultimately kind of backfire. So, you know, that supportiveness can sometimes be problematic. Okay, so I'm going to say what is your character's family or home life like? Who do they live with? Who are their grown-ups? Do they have any siblings, pets? Do they like their family? Why or why not? So I'm going to say Emma lives with her mom and her dad, and she is an only child. She has a pet dog who is a mutt and a rescue, but who is getting old, maybe getting a little gray in the muzzle. So she likes her family, but she isn't super tight with them. They love her. Oops. They love her and she loves them, but they aren't necessarily um, sharing secrets. Like, so she may not tell her parents everything. All right. Um, so in this primary conflict, again, I'm going back to this description here. Um, they're both auditioning for the same part. So my goal over here is based on the conflict you've been assigned, summarize the conflict that your antagonist will be involved in. So I'm going to say Emma wants to audition for a part in the school play, but she doesn't realize that her best friend wants to audition for the very same part. All right, next question. Based on the conflict you've been assigned, how will your antagonist make it hard for the protagonist to overcome their conflict? Well, first of all, Emma is simply going to audition. And I feel like she auditions for her chosen part. And she does this without even asking Isadora what, or not what, but if she is interested in auditioning. She just kind of assumes that Isadora isn't. Maybe she talks about her audition nonstop and she doesn't really stop to listen to Isadora, ev- even when she seems to be trying to talk about the play. Um, and I think maybe even potentially she finds out that Isadora wants to audition and maybe tries to sabotage things or just discourage her, right? Maybe she tries to kind of step in the way in some way, right? Those feel like a couple of good ways where she could sort of, mess up the conflict for her. And then what might the antagonist learn through experiencing this conflict? So this goes back to the idea of the protagonist is usually the character who's changed the most, but it doesn't mean that other characters can't grow or develop. And in fact, stories are richest when a lot of our characters learn various things throughout the narrative, even if they're not necessarily the main characters. So I feel like because of this story, Emma will learn to value Isadora more and to listen more to her friends' interests and desires. I feel like she will also become more supportive and she will learn to ask others about their goals rather than making assumptions. Okay, so now it's your turn, and your job is, if you haven't been keeping up with this as we've gone along, to go back and work on this section of your profile. If you finished both sections of your profile, come talk to me and I'll let you know what your next steps are.